Hello, class. So I will be presenting my final presentation. Okay, just present. So what I decided to do for my final presentation, I decided to do a virtual vision board. So here you can see a collage of different elements that I have as my vision board, and I will go through them and break them down into what my ideal classroom would look like. Okay, so to begin, I would talk about the curriculum to be covered. So for me, the curriculum that I feel would be most important is within a history course would be talking about diverse cultures, politics, race, sexuality, religion, mental health, as well as any of the topics covered by the College Board. Classes must be diverse, inclusive, and consider unique perspectives in order to accommodate for all students. Here is a video about the importance of teaching about race.
We know, and we're continuing to see an increasingly diverse population and actually a demand from organizations and corporations for skills that are global. There are going to be issues of race, religion, sexual identity, sexual orientation, and race involved with the students and the families and the communities that you're going to work with. So your skill set has to be versatile.
If you asked an adult, oh, are you willing to take a class to learn more about diversity? They might be, sure. Yeah, I'm always interested in learning about diversity. But it really can't start there. It has to start within themselves of understanding what values do I have about different groups of people? What do I believe about them? What are the stereotypes that I hold? And until they challenge their own values, assumptions, biases, they're not going to be ready to really fully understand what another group might be going through. We walk around a lot of times thinking everybody has it the way we have it, not really understanding that they might be working really hard to get what they have and they're still struggling.
You know, we have these recent issues, things happening all across the country with people really protesting the injustice. People on college campuses and probably even in elementary school classrooms are having some conversations about how do we make some real meaningful change? How do we have real meaningful dialogue? I think the scary part is that everyone won't get it. It won't be easy. Sometimes it's going to look really raggedy. And that's just the nature of these kinds of conversations because it's complex. It involves your personal thoughts, identity, level of comprehension.
Some of us just grow up in places where we never get exposure to difference. It doesn't make you bad, it just makes you ill-prepared. We know they're going to need global competency skills just to be productive and effective in the 21st century.
I think that there has to be some patience that you have with yourself and you have with other people. The important thing is to recognize that even if it's not going quite right, if it's not exactly how it ought to be, that you have more to your relationship with that student or those colleagues than that moment, and try to nurture the relationship.
Okay, so hopefully that video was helpful in understanding the importance of teaching topics such as race and sexuality, but I just wanted to briefly say that I believe that all these topics must be covered because they are real life situations, and as a part of being a history teacher, you have to be willing to teach about things that happen in real life and things that occur in history. So, next slide. Okay, so the next thing I would want my classroom to be is trauma responsive. So let's talk about the ACEs. So an ACE is an adverse childhood experience. Kids with 3 or more advanced childhood or adverse childhood experiences are at greater health risk. Kids need to be loved unconditionally, and the one thing that has been proven to help kids with multiple ACEs be successful is the presence of a stable adult. So what this would look like in my classroom is prioritizing love and well-being of students above academics, and this was actually talked a lot about in the film Resilience, which I linked in my resources. The next thing that I would want in my classroom are different classroom resources. So for this, in my classroom, kids would get to pick how they learn. So that means standing or sitting desks, what kind of direction they would like, whether that means they perhaps get to record the directions and play them back, or if they prefer visual models. There would also be a quiet area in a room. While we are talking about real life issues, they can be very intense for some people, so kids need an opportunity to take a break. I would also have a you should know jar in my classroom, which would be a way for kids to communicate with me something that's going on in their life that they feel like I should know, so that way I know if they're struggling with something, but they can indicate if they would like to talk further with me about it or if it's something that they would not like to talk about. However, they would have to know that I am a mandatory reporter. In addition, school counselors would be notified about our topics and be given a copy of our curriculum each week. This way, if there are any topics that are considered triggering or difficult for some students, school counselors can have a heads up on what we're talking about. Finally, we'll have an overview of the given topics each day. This way, students can prepare themselves and let me know if they perhaps need to step out at any point or take a break. The next thing that's really important to me in my classroom is inclusivity. So some elements of inclusivity in my classroom would look like assistive technology, paraprofessionals, a zero tolerance policy of discrimination and hate speech, and topics will also be covered from multiple perspectives. So for example, in talking about 9/11, we would not just talk about the effect of the people who were in the building, but we would also talk about the effects on people who identify as being Muslim. Next, the most important thing is network building. So I cannot do this on my own, therefore I need to collaborate with other instructors. I need to be able to also collaborate with parents, and that would mean meeting about the curriculum weekly. We would be discussing successes and challenges and things that went well and things that we could revise for next year or address in the next class. Next, application to today. So any good history class should also feel relevant to today. Students in my history class would present current events. They would also be expected to discuss patterns and themes of history and link them to today. We would also be looking at possible causes of different patterns and lines of thinking in history, and we would also be including relevant events in lectures so that students feel like what they are learning has some meaning to them. Next, my classroom would be customized for childhood development. So according to one of the studies done in the Nurture Shock book, which is cited, there are huge benefits to structured play or simulation. So students really learn best when they are given information and they are able to act out or relive a situation. So there would be simulations, for example, of like the stock market, you know, the transatlantic slave trade. There would be simulations of what that kind of trading or what those goods would have looked like so that kids have good understandings of that material. Next, we would have understanding reactions. So we would want kids to definitely understand why they feel angry when they hear certain things or why certain things in history feel triggering or like buzzwords, and understanding what makes us react the way we do. Another thing we would begin focusing on in my history class is we would begin separating our own thoughts from our parents' thoughts. So beginning to figure out what matters to us as individuals and really develop that individual. Lastly, we would do an activity called Pick Our Labels. So what this would do is it would allow each student to pick labels where they feel like they identify most with, and we would help set goals that make them feel the most comfortable in achieving what they would like to do with those said labels. So here are some included class activities. So some of the included class activities include simulations, debates, presentations, the labels activity, consider the untold history, movies, and writing activities. So the consider the untold history activity, which we have not touched on yet, would be an activity in which students would take a historical event and consider it from the perspective of the people that it is not usually told from. So an example of that would be the American Revolution would be told then by the British instead of the American side, so we could understand why that happened and why that conflict took place. Finally, we'll talk about use of movement. So I am a dancer, and something that I've been really interested in studying is how the body holds on to memories and stress. We would practice mindfulness activities in my class and examine how dance and movement follow history. We would also be using practices of meditation and focus on stretching both the body and the mind, getting it prepared for learning during the day. Dancing is something that also motivates students to learn and gives them a break from traditional academics. Here is a video of a teacher who dances with his students.
Oh my God, that's him. I never thought that
Sorry, it's loading.
anyone would care who didn't go to Bel Air High School.
You want to learn if you have like a teacher like that.
You know, like
I apologize.
class and like he'll be like, okay, so if you finish your work in time and do it right, then we can go and dance, and that just motivates us to just get our work done.
I'm not afraid to dance like nobody's watching, but millions of people are watching. Once we started formally dancing,
It just went viral.
People in the back.
where we were flipping these roles, where students were becoming the teachers, right? They taught me. Can we do that again?
And you learn better when you have a connection with your teacher.
My name is Dr. Trevor Buffoni, and I'm a high school Spanish teacher in Houston, Texas. Y Camilla, ¿de dónde eres? Ah, Houston. Ella es de Houston. I work at Bel Air High School. This is my 12th year teaching, and something I've always tried to do is to really engage with my students through their cultures. ¿Cómo eres? Find out what they're interested in, whether it be music or dance, and really learn about who my students are.
Other teachers just want to teach you. Teach. He make it fun learning. People in the back go second in.
I noticed my students were all doing these highly choreographed dances where they all seem to know everything.
Then like our teacher would just like jump in the videos, you know, trying to be funny. And
I started kind of like dance bombing their videos. Can we do that again?
And then one video he had walked in, and then that's just what sparked it.
After like a few weeks, they started inviting me to dance with them.
we're just like, okay, Dr. Funny, you should do this dance with us.
And then it really just created this amazing atmosphere in the classroom and outside of the classroom, really.
And so like he did it and we posted it and everybody was just like, oh my gosh.
It's like it just went viral.
Like I feel like a lot of people knows about him.
That's pretty much how everybody knows this school. They're like, oh, that's the school that Dr. Funny dances at or teaches at.
I didn't think it was gonna get this big where all this stuff would happen.
150,000 followers by the end of the school year.
He's been on multiple news channels.
We actually went viral on Snapchat and made like the best of high school Snapchat in the nation.
Like, look at him. I got to teach. I said, look at him.
We were on Good Morning America.
I can't believe this happening. Like,
Immediately overnight, it just blew up,
Trying to
and it really
drop
just started this journey that I never could have imagined. But it hit to the left or right?
You know, like we're in class and like he'll be like, okay, so if you finish your work in time and do it right, then we can go and dance, and that just motivates us to just get our work done.
It's better for the students because they're more comfortable with the teacher. And you learn better when you have a connection with your teacher.
If there's something really interesting that happens when you go viral with someone, and I can't quite explain that, but I feel like I've known these kids my whole life. There's something that happens like chemically in our brain when we're dancing in unison. We're all doing the same exact dance, and where we are practicing the same movements over and over again, supporting each other to, you know, hit the bow at the same time, or, you know, work on our footwork at the, you know, together in unison. It does something to build community. Me amo. Teachers don't, you know, we don't expect to get notoriety or any sort of fame or viralness through teaching, right? We're supposed to be kind of anonymous in a lot of ways, but it's been a really great journey, and the best part about it has been just seeing what it's done for my students and what sort of pride they have coming into class and working with me.
Okay, so that was just a little snippet of that video, but hopefully that explained a little bit about the value of dance and developing that connection with a teacher. Oh my God, that's him. Okay, So in conclusion, so overall, I aim to create a classroom that makes all students feel welcomed and safe. I wanted to create a classroom that inspires knowledge and incorporates Dewey's impulses. I hope to be a teacher that inspires kids to be the best version of themselves and makes them feel both valued and loved. So once again, just here is the vision board, just so you can see it one last time with all the pieces. And then let me just click through this to get to the references. Okay, and there's my reference slide. Thank you so much for watching. It has been a pleasure to be in this class.